Welcome to the Friday Fix. Our virtue today is thrift. Now, as a virtue, thrift has a very bad reputation. I mean, even I used to think of a thrifty person as someone who is a miser, someone who squirrels away their pennies for a rainy day, somebody who rains on your parade and says, "No, we can't do that, we can't afford it." Even when I looked on the Virtues Project website, guess what? I could not find the virtue of thrift or frugality. And I think that the problem with this thrift is that people are seeing it as mutually exclusive with the more admirable quality of generosity. People think that if you are thrifty or a miser and you can't be generous with your money or your time or your resources. Now, I want to stand up today for thrift and show you how it is a habit that you might like to develop, and that it is not, the bad guy in the world and community of virtues. It is a really great virtue to have, and it is not exclusive with generosity. First, let's look at the definition of thrift. Thrift or frugality is the quality of being prudent or economical in the consumption of consumable resources such as food, time, or money, and avoiding waste, lavishness, or extravagance. In behavioral science, frugality or thrift has been defined as the tendency to acquire goods and services in a restrained manner and resourceful use of already owned economic goods and services to achieve a longer term goal. And we'll get back to that in a minute. This is about achieving a longer term goal. It's not for the sake of having those extra dollars or cents. Now, different spiritual communities consider frugality to be a virtue or a spiritual discipline. The Religious Society of Friends and the Puritans are examples of such groups. The basic philosophy behind this is the idea that people ought to save money in order to allocate it to more charitable purposes, such as helping others in need. Next, I want to look at some thoughts on thrift arising from the ideas and writings of Aristotle. Aristotle said that the median is the best course. And when Aristotle was talking about the median is the best course, he was thinking about things like this relationship here: stinginess on the one side and extravagance on the other side. These are two extremes when it comes to giving. So what is a median between stinginess and extravagance? Well, Aristotle would say that is generosity. Now, I think everybody would agree with that, but how about this equation? One could say that thrift is the median between stinginess and extravagance. Now, we don't associate thrift with generosity, but if you think about it, in reality, thrift encompasses generosity. We talked about the goals, the longer term goals. A thrifty person will help the needy and care for parents in their old age. This is what it means to have a generous soul. Now let's look at the derivation of the word thrift. Thrift stems from the same root as the verb to thrive. And to thrive means to grow or develop well or vigorously, to prosper, to flourish. Aristotle applied this principle of the median to other virtues. If you look at the issue of fear or confidence, if you have a deficiency of confidence, then you're cowardly. If you have an excess of confidence, then you may be reckless. And the median between cowardliness and recklessness is courage, and this is a virtue. And there are other virtues that you can apply this principle of the median to, such as the issue being anger. A deficiency would mean apathy, an apathetic person who doesn't care at all what happens. They don't get angry because they just don't care. And an excess would mean you have a short temper. The slightest thing will set you off. And the median between apathy and a short temper is the virtue gentleness. Now, what are some of the implications for the practice of any virtue? We can talk about the virtue of generosity first. If you tend to be stingy, then if you want to be generous, you should lean towards extravagance, because that's your tendency, is to be stingy. And if you want to combat that, you need to lean towards extravagance. And on the other hand, if you tend to be extravagant, then you need to lean towards stinginess. And the hope is that you will hit the median of generosity. And in this case, we're talking about generosity or thrift, but the principle applies to any virtuous attribute. Thank you for listening. We have a lot more virtues in our virtues bag, so I hope you'll join us again next week, Friday, for more. And I'm going to leave you with a quote from the Baha'i writings that has to do with generosity. Bye-bye.